I started writing this when I was in grad school, in film school, and I was given an assignment to write from a place that I knew, or I was familiar with, and I didn't know what I was going to write. And I found myself all of a sudden going back to my own coming of age and writing about a friendship that I had when I was growing up that obviously was very significant for me. And I couldn't stop writing because, you know, very much like the film, it was a relationship that never had any words exchanged about, you know, feelings or putting words to feelings or anything like that. It was very much about being in the moment. And the thing is that she and I were separated, not because anyone necessarily knew what was going on, but we were separated because of our economic situation. And so we lost touch. And that was when I was about 13, 14. And so I started writing about this when I was 22. And so in many ways, I think I was just sort of, you know, giving this experience its proper place in my life, recognizing that it was my first love. And it might not look like a lot of people's first loves, I guess, in sort of mainstream media, but for me it was my first love, and I thought it was important to put it out there and give it that name. And so it is a very personal piece. I'm also raised by immigrants, and I come from a family that is made up of documented and undocumented people, and it's had a strong impact on our lives. And it is a reality that is part of, you know, our existence here in the US. And so, you know, so all of those realities, all of those identities that are mine just naturally, organically made their way into the script. So yeah, so it was hard. I wasn't trained as a writer at all. So, you know, the process was really raw and rough at the beginning, but I was blessed to have two mentors come into my life. One at the beginning, his name is Jim McKay, he's in New York, he's a filmmaker. He's a white dude who is the downest white dude I know, because he never tried to impose his politics or his life or his reality onto mine. He was my biggest cheerleader and champion, I think, more than anything. And I appreciate him for that. And then a queer woman of color came into my life later on, who really helped me tease out the story of Mari and the immigration storyline. And so I give a lot to her as well. So
let's talk about casting. The two girls are phenomenal in these roles. They have such chemistry and such nuance in their performances. I'm wondering what the casting process for them was, and I also understand that there were a number of non-actors and local youth that played the high schoolers, so if you could talk about that as well.
It was, I only had a month to cast the film because I didn't have a big budget at all. So it was very intense. We had two efforts going on at the same time. One was community, and one was sort of a traditional casting outreach. And the community effort really was because my vision and my intention was always to keep it as connected to the community as possible. And because I also know that, you know, in our community there's a lot of talented youth, and, you know, why was I going to go looking for America Ferrera or anyone? You know, they've already done it, and, you know, I wanted to offer this role to new talent. And so through the community effort, I partnered with a nonprofit called Communities for a Better Environment in Huntington Park, and they're an amazing organization that does a lot of social justice work. They have a youth component, and I did a presentation to them. I did like 2 presentations to them, and because I'm not from there, so they, you know, they were checking me out, you know, making sure I was cool. And once I earned their trust, they got me into like 5 or 6 local high schools, and I saw between close to 400 women in a month's time, young ladies. And out of that effort, I found las cuatas, the homegirls, las locas, that have absolutely no experience, but they're sisters, and they just have this, you know, this ability to go back and forth, and this wit about them that is what I needed. And I wasn't going to have a lot of time to train them and coach them, so I needed these girls to already kind of have that. And all the other background youth and the boy interests, they're all from the neighborhood and are total non-actors. MOSQUITA and MARI have minimal experience, and they came through me through the casting traditional route. They had managers, and I think they might have been scouted in malls or something when they were young, and they hadn't really worked too much because they weren't finding a lot of roles that spoke to them. And so when I came around and MOSQUITA y Mari came around, they came out of the shadows and really stood out. I saw about 70 girls in the studio with my casting director, and both of them stood out because they were bilingual, bicultural. MOSQUITA is actually from Southeast East LA, it turns out, and Mari's from downtown LA, which is the border community. So they responded to the material very easily and very naturally, and you know, they were amazing listeners, and they had a chemistry between them that definitely stood out to me because we were doing a lot of pairing, and whenever they came together, they would do interesting things, and so I noticed that, and separately, they came up to me and said, you know, Aurora, I've been waiting for you, and I've been waiting for this story. And when they said that, it really stayed with me because this film is very internal and very nuanced. That I needed girls that were going to be ready to commit, and so they stood out to me. And they were just fantastic. I mean, they're all heart. I'm sad that they're not here because. If you were to meet them, you could tell they're just so genuine. And MOSQUITA actually came in to audition for Mari. She's got kind of a toughness that you see at the end. But I ended up casting her for MOSQUITA because I noticed in the auditions that whenever she'd laugh or smile, she'd sort of light up the room and make us kind of melt. And so I was like, you know, that's what I need. I need that lead character that sort of, you know, people can really embrace. And so out of the two, I think MOSQUITA is the one that really sort of stepped out of herself and really did some performances, whereas Mari is my Mari. She is Mari. So wasn't asking for too much from her. She was just being her in many ways. So, and I say that with love. I say that with a lot of love. And then the adults, they're all trained actors. I decided to go with trained adult actors because I knew that I wanted to focus most of my energy on the young people. And they're Mexican trained. Most of them have worked in Mexico, and they're now in the U.S. And they came to me through word of mouth. They all auditioned, and they were all wonderful and very excited about the content, and regardless of how much they were going to get paid. So they were very enthusiastic. It was really positive.